Did you know that Jon Hamm, the iconic Don Draper, almost gave up acting by age 30? Let's uncover his fascinating journey. Hey everyone, I'm Leah. I'm super excited today to dive into Jon Hamm's story.
And I'm Garrett, really curious about today's topic. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett. All right, let's set the stage for this one. We're talking Jon Hamm's arc from a struggling actor who set a hard deadline to make it by 30, to breaking out as Don Draper on AMC's Mad Men, and then building a career that jumps between drama, comedy, voice work, and even memorable commercials. Here's a thought I've been turning over. I first watched Mad Men during a college binge. I figured it would just be sharp suits in 1960s style, but Don Draper's whole identity puzzle hit me way deeper than I expected. It reminded me of urban exploration, which I love. You think you're just going into a cool old building, then you find hidden rooms, layers of history, and suddenly the place is telling you secrets. Draper felt like that. A sleek lobby on the outside, and a labyrinth in the basement. That surprise is what pulled me in. Not just the vibe, but the feeling that under the cool, there's a lot of unspoken loss and reinvention.
Let's open the book on this with the early years. Jon Hamm, full name Jonathan Daniel Hamm, grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. He lost his mother at about 10 and his father around 20. That kind of early loss matters here, because he later said he drew on memories of his dad to help play Don Draper's outward polish and inner turmoil. Before the breakthrough, though, he moved to Los Angeles in the mid-1990s. And it was tough going. He looked older than his actual age at the time, which sounds helpful for serious roles, but early on, it actually made casting harder. He just didn't slot neatly into 20-something parts. He waited tables, did theater with groups like the Sacred Fools Theater Company, and even worked briefly as a set decorator on a softcore film. That's the patchwork survival kit so many actors know. He was represented by the William Morris Agency, a major talent agency, but after years without bookings, they dropped him in 1998. Real talk, that could end a career. He set a personal deadline to succeed by 30, and just as the clock was running down, he landed small roles in Space Cowboys, the Clint Eastwood film, Kissing Jessica Stein, a well-liked indie comedy, and We Were Soldiers, a war drama he filmed right as he hit 30.
A TV foothold came with Providence on NBC. That's a medical drama where his one-episode firefighter gig grew into 19 episodes. That was a big shift. It let him quit waiting tables and freed up energy for building momentum. But the real blaze was Mad Men. Quick refresher. AMC is a cable channel that at the time was still figuring out its prestige play. Prestige TV means those high-quality auteur-style dramas with strong writing and cinematic vibes. And Don Draper is the lead character, a 1960s ad executive with a beautiful facade and a messy interior life. Hamm auditioned multiple times. Matthew Weiner, the show's creator, and Alan Taylor, one of its key directors, reportedly thought he might be too handsome for Draper at first. But Hamm kept explaining how he'd play the guy, and eventually they saw the right depth. Over 80 actors were considered. AMC took a gamble on someone who wasn't a household name yet. After the premiere in 2007, critics called his performance star-making, and he started racking up nominations. He eventually won the Primetime Emmy for lead actor in 2015, plus he has 2 Golden Globes for the role. If those years before Mad Men were like wandering a dense forest, the show was that sudden clearing that finally let sunlight in and showed a clear path forward.
Why would a network take that kind of risk on a relatively unknown actor, though? It sounds scary on paper.
Because the fit was right, even if the math was risky. If your story needs both charisma and fracture, the actor who can hold those in balance is rare. Hamm's life experience, losing both parents early and figuring out adulthood without that safety net, gave him a believable center of gravity. AMC also needed a signature show. Taking a chance is sometimes how a brand builds identity. This was a case where the actor and the network aligned in ambition.
Let's dig deeper into the timeline. Beginning with his childhood in St. Louis, a Catholic upbringing, and roots he's talked about with affection. After college, he even taught acting briefly at his old high school. One of his students was Ellie Kemper, who later starred in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Years later, he joined that show for a memorable role. Then the Los Angeles chapter starts in 1995. He quit smoking at 24 that year, and fast forward to Mad Men, he used herbal, non-nicotine cigarettes on set to keep it authentic without the health hit. That's a small thing, but it shows how the show chased period detail while he protected his well-being. He also developed vitiligo during season 1. That's a skin condition that causes loss of pigment in patches. It's not dangerous, but it can be stressful, especially under bright lights and long hours. Middle, the audition grind, and AMC's choice. Matthew Weiner is the showrunner who created Mad Men, and Alan Taylor is a director known for sharp, moody television. Both had to be convinced that the smooth surface was not the whole of Hamm, that he had the vulnerability and the sharp edges to make Draper work. And he did. The show kicked off in 2007. Critics like Robert Bianco at USA Today and Matthew Gilbert at the Boston Globe praised him, and his awards trajectory reflected that consistency season after season.
End. Post-Mad Men branches. He chose variety on purpose. The Town with Ben Affleck is a 2010 Boston heist thriller where he plays an FBI agent. Baby Driver in 2017, a stylish action crime film by Edgar Wright, let him go darker and more kinetic. Top Gun, Maverick in 2022 plugged him into a massive audience again as a cool, authoritative presence. On the comedy side, he leaned into 30 Rock, Tina Fey's workplace satire, where he played the charmingly oblivious Drew Baird, and even got Emmy nominations as a guest. He popped into Curb Your Enthusiasm as himself opposite Larry David, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt as a hilariously unhinged figure. He's also done strong anthology work, like Black Mirror's White Christmas special. Voice-wise, he's been everywhere. Shrek Forever After, where he voiced Brogan. Minions as Herb Overkill, which crossed $1 billion worldwide. Transformers 1 in 2024 kept that momentum. He even leads and executive produces the animated sitcom Grimmsburg in 2024, voicing Marvin Flute. And his commercial narration is a thing. Mercedes-Benz since 2010, American Airlines spots, H&R Block, Skip the Dishes in Canada, progressive commercials with that meta will they won't they vibe with flow. He also did a cheeky Apple TV Plus ad called Everyone But Jon Hamm, and then later joined Apple series like The Morning Show in 2023 and Your Friends and Neighbors in 2025 as his first lead TV role since Mad Men.
Okay, let's move on to a small but thorny question. The film Stolen is often labeled his first feature leading role, where he plays a police officer and grieving dad. The disputed part is the release year. Some places list 2009, others 2010. That kind of discrepancy usually comes from the difference between a festival premiere and a wider theatrical or home release. A festival premiere is when a film debuts at a film festival. A limited release means it plays in select theaters before expanding or heading to video on demand. I think dates actually shape how we tell the story of a career. If a leading role is marked as 2009 instead of 2010, it can reposition what we think came first, or how fast momentum was building around that time. It's like building a timeline for a case file. One entry shifts forward and your sense of cause and effect can subtly change. Not a scandal, just a reminder that chronology steers narrative.
I hear that, but I lean the other way. For me, the impact of the role matters more than the precise month or even the specific year, within reason. If Stolen is the project that showed he could anchor a feature, then its function in the arc is the key point. The label 2009 or 2010 is like whether your favorite album dropped in spring or summer. What sticks is how it sounded and what it unlocked for the artist next.
So let's tug on that thread. If someone learns he led Stolen in 2009, they might read his 2010 run in The Town differently. It can create the impression that he was already stepping into leading territory before that big ensemble crime movie landed. If the listing is 2010, it can compress those moves together, making it feel like a sudden cluster. Neither story is wrong, but each flavor colors the public memory. That's fascinating.
Totally. And it raises some good questions. Do small discrepancies like that change how we credit an actor's risk-taking? Do they shift which projects get remembered as the turning points? And do they influence casting perception? Like if a director thinks you already carried a feature in 2009, maybe you get a different phone call in 2010 than if they believe that milestone hadn't happened yet.
Switching gears just a little, pop culture ripples. Mad Men helped revive an interest in 1960s design and style in modern TV, from suits to sets to that minimalist cool. Hamm leaned into comedy visibility too, hosting Saturday Night Live multiple times, with cameos sprinkled across the years, and then returning to host again in 2025 after a long gap. That's a neat through line. And then the newer wave. In 2025, a scene from Your Friends and Neighbors, his Apple TV Plus series, where his character Andrew Cooper dances to the song Turn the Lights Off, became a TikTok meme. That is staying power. The work keeps finding fresh oxygen.
What's next on our list? The counterfactual. What if he had not been cast as Don Draper in 2007? I can picture a strong career built around voice and supporting roles. He had the pipes for narration and commercials. He became the voice of Mercedes-Benz in 2010 in our timeline, and I think that would still have happened, or something similar. He could have been one of those go-to actors who elevates every ensemble, shows up in smart comedies, and steadily builds a reputation until a different late breakthrough. Maybe the feature lead lands in the 2010s via a dark comedy or a prestige limited series.
I can see that. Or another path. Without Draper, maybe the producers of The Town still clock him from Providence and early film credits, and he slots into a lean cop role that grows. That could lead to a gritty cable series sooner. Also, his comedic chops were always there. 30 Rock proved that. He might have become one of those beloved comedy regulars who suddenly flips to drama in a single knockout project. It just might have taken longer to line up all those elements without the AMC springboard.
Either way, the ingredients were present: charisma, that undercurrent of sadness he can tap into, and a sharp sense of timing. Mad Men gave him the megaphone. But I don't think the story without Draper is a dead end. It's more like a different trail through the same forest. Maybe fewer scenic overlooks, maybe a later summit, but still a climb worth watching.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Stay curious, and we'll catch you next time on Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.